Welcome to the Shootin' Show. Stand by for shots fired.
Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome to today's program. We're so glad to have you because we're getting reports of new cable companies and new TV stations that are picking us up all over the country. And friends, it is so important that we're able to portray ourselves, normal Americans and gun owners, to the rest of America who may not know much about firearms. This is so important, it has to be done. You know, friends, the American people pretty much know how to make the right decisions if they're presented with proper information, and this is so important. We need to show them that guns can be fun and recreational and also can serve to protect our very lives. So it is so important that our job here on the Shootin' Show, and you can get us on, if you're watching us on satellite, you can help get us on your local cable company by calling them and telling them the Outdoor Channel is free to their local cable company. The show is free on Monday night. Our Monday night independent broadcast is free to local cable. They can even make money on our program. So we very much would like to be in every city and town all over this nation, if at all possible. And we certainly appreciate all you satellite viewers. I tell you what, you've kept us going. In the beginning, that's all we had was satellite viewers, and we're so glad to have you today, certainly. Well, let's open another Shootin' Show. The judge has an update on the some of the things surrounding the Ruby Ridge incident, one of those more infamous incidents that the U.S. government has pulled, and he's going to have some information on that today and a number of other things. We have some guns to look at, and hey, let's open today's program with this 50 Action Express, and let's see what this big hollow point bullet, the big 50 caliber hollow point bullet, does in this AMT 50 Action Express on our volunteer water bottle out here. And yes, I'll be sure my hearing protection is in really well because this thing is really loud, trust me. Yes. You know, friends, yes, it is hot here in Louisiana. It's about, I think, 103 today. Certainly feels like it. And yes, perspiration is running pretty much out here in my eyes today. I tell you what, I'm glad you can be watching this behind an air conditioner if you can today, because it's nice out here, but it is definitely warm. Hope I can see through my glasses here. Well, let's look at a handgun today that is fairly new on the scene. This is the Ruger P94. It's in 40 Smith & Wesson chambering. And I notice Ruger just calls it 40 Auto. I don't think they want any reference to any other gun manufacturer on their guns there, and that's fine, you know, because we all know what it is. This is a pre-band gun. It holds 11 in the magazine, and this is a pretty slick gun as semi-automatics go. It has an aluminum frame, it has a stainless steel barrel and top, and I honestly don't know if they make this gun in a blued steel. I think they're all in stainless. I stand to be corrected. I flatly don't know. Ruger has a number of good things about these guns. One, they're very strong the way they're made. Ruger's quality control has been real good in recent times, certainly the guns that we've examined. This gun has an excellent set of sights on it. It has 3-dot sights. We'll take a closer look at the gun in function in just a moment. But the thing that sets this gun apart from most other Rugers, it is, we'll check it and be sure it's unloaded, yes. Remember, semi-automatics, I like to check them 3 times. 1 time to see if they're empty, 2 times to be sure I saw what I saw the first time, and the 3rd time to fail-safe the other 2. We just can't be too safe. So I check them all 3 times, you know, not just once, not twice, but I have a backup. It only takes a moment. Anyway, this gun has a slicker profile. Take my glasses off for a second. A slicker profile than, say, the P85 and P89, the older P series. And they're still making those guns, but this is sort of a newer edition. It seems to be a little more compact. In fact, this gun is almost identically the same size as the Colt Commander, which is certainly the more compact Colt. In fact, they're just right there together. The Ruger is a little wider in the slide. That's typical. Ruger makes their parts bigger. I'm not sure why. Maybe due to the casting process, maybe just because they want to. I don't know. But one thing that Rugers do have is a reputation for strength and reliability. Now then, this gun is going to be as reliable, probably as most other semi-automatics. And let me qualify that. All semi-automatics will malfunction. Not some of them, but all of them will. And if yours hasn't, you flatly just haven't shot it enough, because sooner or later you're going to hit a shell, a cartridge, an individual cartridge that is not going to perform properly, and you've got to have every cartridge performing exactly right for these things to function. So I don't recommend this as a beginner's gun. The beginners stick with revolvers, and that's what I carry most of the time myself anyway, is a revolver, just because I like the way they work. But as far as semi-automatics go, this is going to be one of the more reliable ones, because Ruger has a real good engineering process. They've done their homework as far as what works, what doesn't. And I do like that grip angle, because it is, looking here, it looks to be exactly the same as the 1911. Now then, for police departments that are transitioning from revolvers to semi-automatics, what makes this gun different is it is double action only. It does not have a safety. It certainly has a firing pin safety. It won't go off, or the firing pin can't contact the primer on the cartridge unless that trigger is pulled. But what it is, it has a trigger similar to a double action revolver. It's a long pull, but and in fact it's not that heavy, and I was wondering whether it was going to set all the primers off, but it's done real well so far. We've shot this gun some, and I do want to say a lot of the 40 autos, when they first started in production, were not that terribly accurate, and I didn't expect any great accuracy from this gun because of the long and certainly harder, say, than a single action trigger pull. But guess what? It surprised me. It got down a 5-shot group at 25 yards in about 2 inches, which I think is pretty darn good performance for any semi-automatic. If we hunted around and found the better ammunition, it might surprise us. It might really do something, but you do have to use a little more concentration and have to really think about that trigger pull to get a good group with a double action only semi-automatic. Now the beauty part is you don't have to go through a lot of training as far as pushing safety off, decocking, pushing safety on. You don't have to do that with one of these guns because it doesn't have a manual safety. And probably I think that's a good idea for people who are not trained, who are not going to be trained. That is a viable alternative, because literally if that trigger is not back, gun can't fire. And let's take a look at it. This gun holds 11 in the magazine, and we'll go ahead and load it. And let's take a couple of shots with it. It is not a heavy gun due to the aluminum frame, but let's take a look at it in my hands today anyway. There's not a lot of a muzzle flip, not a lot there at all. And you can shoot these things pretty rapidly. Now, I'm not going to be able to shoot it as fast as I do a single action Colt, but it is certainly going to be adequate. It's going to be fast enough. And with the stainless steel construction here, it's going to be more rust resistant. And you know, friends, stainless will rust. It will corrode. All of them take some maintenance, and certainly for this gun to function properly, it's going to need some oil, it's going to need some cleaning. Just because it's stainless steel does not mean they're maintenance free, because they're not. But this is a very nice package. It is fairly smooth as compared to Rugers in the past. It is certainly smoother. I think it would go in and out of a holster easier. Well, let's take a couple more shots with it. Well, and that's going to be probably about as fast as I can shoot this gun. Since we're here, see if you can tell any difference in this. We've got this Colt Commander here. See if you can tell any difference in the two. This is in 45, of course, and the Ruger is in 40 S&W. But see, it's a little quicker. It's a little quicker, but still, I don't see that as a handicap for the average person that's going to use these. And for police officers, it won't require quite as much training, although any semi-automatic, I don't care if it's double action only or whatever else, any semi-automatic is going to require quite a bit more training for the user to be competent with it, because, as I said earlier, they will all malfunction, every last one of them. So we have found in everything that we have handled and have shot that's come through this program, the semi-automatics are probably about 10 times more likely to malfunction just due to the way they work than a revolver. And especially so if you buy a gun and you're not going to go out and shoot it, if you're going to put it in a drawer somewhere and forget about it. So the semi-automatics don't fare nearly as well as revolvers do, because you can literally put a good quality revolver in a drawer somewhere and come back 5 years from now, it's probably going to go bang. But your semi-automatic may or may not, and it certainly will be more prone to malfunction. The semi-automatics are more enthusiast guns. And so many people now are buying guns that have not owned them before, have not shot them before, and we think this is very, very important for them to make the right decision on first gun. However, this would not be a bad choice if you want a semi-automatic. Now friends, you can see that this is a much smoother gun, slicker gun than Rugers that we've been used to in the past. And really is pretty well thought out. It has, that is the Browning type system here. Notice no safety on the side or anywhere else. Very simple to operate. I suppose this is where the safety or decock would be on the other series, but this is not a bad system. But no, it's unloaded. What you do, see, the trigger cocks the hammer and releases it for every shot. Double action, cock and release. Has an excellent set of sights on here, and they're easy to see. Friends, here we have this double stack magazine, and when I say double stack, it means two in a line. They're a staggered box magazine, in fact. So you insert it in the base of the grip like so. Now this particular gun, don't know if all of them are like this or not. When the magazine is full, it will not come out easily. It has to be pulled out. Now when this magazine is empty, it comes out with no resistance at all, and it may be just this gun, but they may all be that way. When it's full of cartridges, it has a tendency to swell just a little bit, which that's fine. Go ahead and load the gun, pull the slide all the way back, and let it go. Let's take a couple of shots with it. Line those dots, and we hit that one. Let's take another shot. Put our dot there. Great. And we got one more standing there. Let's see what it looks like. I'll tell you what, friends, I hope you can tell. Of course, my shirt is rather wet as we speak here. It is so warm today, but our health club has been so wonderful. It is so great, feeling so good. We can help so many of you all to give us a call. And of course, the heat out here, I'll lose another pound or two out here in the heat today. Anyway, the Ruger P94, double action only, stainless steel, aluminum, some sort of hard coated frame. They are nice guns. If you're looking for something like this, the Rugers have always been very competitively priced. So I think it'll be a good choice for someone who's looking for a gun like this.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages. For more information on the Jerry Michalik shooting classes, please call 318-949-1303. Again, that number is 318-949-1303.
Now, friends, we have a collector out there who wants to pay cash for World War I, World War II, American, Japanese, and German war souvenirs. Give him a call at area 540-373-9150. Again, he wants to pay cash for war souvenirs, World War I and World War II, American, Japanese, and German war souvenirs. Call area 540-373-9150. You know, friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Give them a call, 1-800-345-6923, a very inexpensive subscription price. Again, 1-800-345-6923. Subscribe today.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
And now here's our good friend Art Alphin, formerly an instructor at West Point, and now with the great A Square Company. And let's see what he has to tell us today.
Field artillery in the war between the states was primarily an anti-personnel weapon. The most popular field artillery piece on both sides during the war was the 12-pound Napoleon. It was light enough to be maneuvered as a field artillery piece, yet fired full charge 12-pound ammunition. This ammunition consisted of 4 major types of projectiles. Solid or round shot was a solid iron ball. Like all other projectiles, it was attached to a wooden sabot by metal bands. The sabot improved the accuracy and served double duty by having a woolen powder bag attached to it. This meant that when loading, the powder charge, sabot, and projectile were all one piece and could be loaded with one stroke. Shell was a hollow iron ball filled with black powder and using a Borman or similar type of fuse. The fuse was a wooden plug containing a powder train in a groove. The cover was a scale graduated in seconds. The gunner estimated the range and consequent time of flight to the target and called out the number. The fuse cutter cut a hole in the fuse cover at the appropriate mark. Hopefully, the powder gases escaping past the projectile would ignite the fuse, which would burn for the required number of seconds before causing the projectile to explode. This was a very iffy thing. Problems with fuses, range estimation, and variations in muzzle velocity made it near impossible to get the projectile to explode in the right place. Spherical case was the same as shell, except that the hollow area in the shell contained a very small burster charge and a number of separate iron balls. Grape or canister shot was used on infantry at less than 400 yards. This collection of small iron balls converted the Napoleon into a giant shotgun. When the infantry closed to within 180 yards, one powder charge could be loaded with 2 containers of canister, thereby doubling the number of projectiles to 24 pounds. Explosive shell and spherical case had little bursting power and were unreliable. The preferred rounds were solid shot and canister. We will demonstrate how to load using this 6-pounder, which has been re-rifled on the James principle. After the shot, the number 3 closed off the touch hole or vent with a padded leather glove called a thumb stall. Number 1 dipped the sponge end of his rammer into a water bucket and swabbed the bore in order to extinguish any sparks remaining from the previous shot. Number 2 received the new projectile powder combination from the powder monkey and placed it at the muzzle. Number 1 reversed his rammer and rammed the cartridge home. Number 3 then removed the thumb stall from the vent and, using a vent prick, cut open the cartridge in the bore. Number 4 placed the friction primer in the vent and took the slack out of the lanyard. At any time during this process, the gunner aimed the weapon. For elevation changes, he used the hand screw mounted underneath the breech, while deflection changes were made by physically moving the trail left and right. Upon command, number 4 would give a final pull on the lanyard. The friction primer acted like a giant kitchen match and set off the propelling charge. As the gun rolled back 6 to 12 feet in recoil, the crew members seized the carriage and rolled it forward to approximately the same starting position. You may ask about rifled field artillery, but it was not that effective. Though it was more accurate, its recoil took it out of position after every shot. Each succeeding shot was the equivalent of opening fire again. The rounds could not be walked into the target. Rifles were inefficient at handling canister shot, and their explosive projectiles had a weak burster charge and an extremely unreliable contact fuse. Since the projectiles were oblong, they normally dug deeply into the ground before explosion and had little effect. It would take more than 30 years, plus the invention of high-order explosive filler, smokeless powder, cartridge cases, breech loaders, good contact fuses, and hydro-pneumatic recoil systems before field artillery had the characteristics which you and I understand today. We will watch a genuine 12-pound Napoleon being fired with solid shot and canister shot against formations of silhouette targets. We will be loading slowly and out of sequence, and we'll be using a separate powder bag of aluminum foil in order to reduce the possibility of a premature discharge. To reduce chance of misfire, the number 3 man will put priming powder down the vent before the friction primer is inserted. Infantry 400! Prime! Fire! Dean, vent. Prime! Fire! Infantry 240! Too much. Prime! Fire! I am sure you expected the canister shot to be impressive, but the round shot was surprising. They bounced through the formation like a bowling ball gone berserk. Every strike upon the ground and every impact with a target created secondary projectiles which traveled through the target area at odd angles. Wartime stories of round shot hurling rifled muskets, canteens, and pieces of bodies as secondary projectiles are true. One can only imagine what it must have looked like when a battery of 6 of these were on line firing at maximum rate. During the war, maximum rate for these weapons was 4 rounds per minute. This is faster than we were firing, since we put a premium on safety and intentionally went slowly. By calculating the rate of advance of infantry using Hardee's manual and comparing this to the rate of fire, we find that an infantry unit attacking a Napoleon field piece from 1,500 yards out would, by the time they arrived at the gun, receive 676 pounds of round shot and canister from that single field piece alone. This brings up 2 important side points: Gatling guns and leadership. The Gatling gun of the war between the states was the size of this field piece, yet its combat range was exactly the same as the rifled musket. Since cartridge cases were not yet practical, Gatling gun crews had to load and prime steel sleeves as if those sleeves were .58 caliber rifled muskets. These sleeves were then fed into the gun as ammunition. After every couple of hundred rounds, they had to cease fire to reload the sleeves and clean out the vast quantities of powder fouling which escaped past the gap between sleeve and barrel. No one in his right mind would pick a Gatling gun over any smoothbore field piece. With Napoleon's belching death, why did men go forward? They were led from the front. During the war between the states, over 160 general officers from both sides were killed. All but 1 or 2 were killed leading their men in battle from the front. This is far in excess of all general officer casualties of the United States in all other wars combined. Despite the death and destruction, soldiers of both sides went forward to their job. At the Battle of Newmarket, for example, the Corps of Cadets from the Virginia Military Institute went on line near the Bushong House and charged. They crossed this field from the Bushong House to where you are standing, approximately 600 yards, and the location of a federal battery. They not only seized the battery, they actually broke the Union line asunder, putting it to flight. The price they paid for moving across that short space of ground, some of which was dead space in which they were protected from fire, was 10 dead and 45 wounded out of 222 total engaged. I have some recovered targets. These shot with canister shot. And these hit with round shot. When you study the war, remember these targets and the range film. They will give you a new dimension on the peculiar problems of that war and the courage of the troops involved.
You know, friends, it's rare in any field of manufacture that one particular company has a clear-cut advantage over the others. Well, in this case, it's Corbin Ammunition, Corbin Bullet Company, because they make the best handgun, long gun, and even some specialty caliber ammunition that's been real hard to get in the past. If you really want your handgun or rifle to perform at their absolute best, you need to find some Corbin ammunition. For information on where you can get Corbin, information on their product line, call them. Corbin Bullet Company, 1-800-626-7266. Again, give them a call. It's a free call, 1-800-626-7266. Trust me on this one, Corbon is the best there is. The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Tri-tote's real easy to use because all you have is a hook on your waist and you have another hook on a strap. Okay, so all you're doing is you're hanging your gun up like you would on a peg gun rack. There is never anything attached to your equipment when you use a tri-tote. Okay, you just set the gun with one hook behind the trigger guard and the other hook on the barrel. To use it, you just push in on towards your chest, pick the gun up to shoot it. Basically, you got 7 different positions anywhere you want to range the barrel of the gun by just taking it off. It's a piece of Velcro strap onto a Velcro shoulder pad. You just put the gun into it, pick it up and shoot it any way you want. I know a lot of people like to walk around with their gun over their wrist. In this position, tucked up under your arm, it's real comfortable, except it breaks your wrist. Set the gun with the hook in front of the trigger guard, and you got the same position, except your hands free always. And what you want to do is you can take your trigger finger right at the trigger guard, pick the gun right up off the pod, and then you got it ready to shoot. Okay? The other position that you have is when you set the butt of the gun right on the hook on the side, and you can just hold your gun for field shooting in this manner, or you can just rest it back on your shoulder, shrug your shoulder, hit the gun, catch it, and the gun comes up. It's that simple to use. A lot of people like to go out riding on their four-wheeler and their ATV or climb into their deer stand or drag their deer. You got a securing strap that just peels back. All you do is set it on the barrel of the gun, wrap the barrel up, and you have a little securing loop down here on the pod. Okay? You take that and you secure that right over the hook of the gun, so you're securing the top and the bottom. You can ride your four-wheeler, you can climb your tree stand in this manner. If you'd like to pull out your deer, you can open your waist belt up, drop your right hand down through your straps, bring your left hand back up through it. The gun immediately goes on your back. Buckle it up, take away any of that slack. You don't want that. Just readjust it. Pull it up tight on your back, and that's the most secure back carry you'll ever have. You can drag your deer out any way you want to drag your deer out. Climb your hands, use your binoculars. You're always hands-free with the tri-tote.
Now, friends, you'll remember this excellent tri-tote from previous programs, and the good news is, due to their volume of sales and the tremendous response they've had and an increase in production, they now have the price down to $29.95 plus $6.50 for shipping and handling. Give them a call, 1-800-231-1443. Again, $29.95 plus $6.50 for shipping and handling. 1-800-231-1443. So many of hunters and fishermen, everyone who carries something about in the woods needs one of these. So give them a call today.
Friends, we hope you're enjoying our program this week. The judge was not able to be here during the when we're editing the program this evening. He had some things that there was no way out of him taking care of, and he was not able to be here, so you can look for him next week. However, he did leave me some instructions here on some things to tell you about briefly. Here's something that a lot of us had predicted was going to happen, and this is a headline from the local paper. This happened here in Shreveport, and the headline reads, it says here, "Murdered clerk had sought handgun for protection." What had happened here, this gentleman named Coleman thought he needed a handgun to protect himself, and his application for the purchase of a .380 pistol was approved Tuesday, 3 days after Coleman was shot to death in a liquor store holdup. He intended to purchase the gun Friday, said the owner of a pawn shop in Shreveport, pawn shop and gun shop, but his application was initially rejected by the sheriff's office. Said this man, Coleman, was a regular at the gun shop. He put a down payment on the gun and filled out the Brady Law application, which requires a background check on potential handgun owners. He said he needed the gun for his own protection because he worked late hours at a liquor store. He felt it was dangerous. The application shows Coleman answered no to each of the questions, including whether he had ever been convicted of a felony or had a past history of drug abuse or mental illness. Coleman's application came back a day later stating he had been rejected. Well, he couldn't understand this at all because he had bought other things, and when the sheriff's office reconsidered, they found that they had made a mistake, and they granted him the capability, they granted him permission to buy the handgun. Well, guess what? The man's dead now. Of course, his handgun permit, his Brady Bill permit is in now, but the man's dead. You know, we had predicted that some things like this were going to happen, and sure enough, I hope that Sarah Brady is so proud of what she has done and all these other people, because you know what, friends, the chances are that if this man had had a gun, the chances are he would be with us today. Yet, because he was denied, he wasn't able to protect himself in his job at a liquor store. So this is why this thing needs to be turned around, friends. It is outrageous. What happens is these people in Washington, they don't trust you and I to be armed. No, they don't, because they don't think we're responsible enough. Well, let me tell you what. Let's look at how responsible the U.S. government's been. Let's look at how responsible some of these knuckleheads in Congress are, on up to and including the President of the United States. So, speaking of the federal government, in the paper a day or so ago, the federal government is going to pay $3.1 million in Ruby Ridge claims. It says here, white separatist wife and son died in 1992. You know, why do they keep calling this man a white separatist? His name is Randy Weaver. That is very irritating. The judge specifically asked me to mention this. Why I see white separatist is an inflammatory remark. And I think that that's ridiculous that that's used. The man's name's Randy Weaver. I mean, certainly, most of us don't agree with separation or of whatever. But why do we have to keep calling him this? It's because, and from what I'm seeing here, it says, expressing a desire to heal wounds. The Justice Department agreed Tuesday to pay white separatists, again, Randy Weaver, and his children $3.1 million for the killing of Weaver's wife and son during a 1992 siege by federal agents at Ruby Ridge, Idaho. Each of the surviving children of Vicki Weaver, Sarah Rachel, and Elishaby, I guess that's how you say that, will receive $1 million, and her husband Randy will receive $100,000. Well, I don't understand that, because if the man lost his wife and one of his children, I think he ought to get at least as much as the kids. I think they were suing for something like $200 million in damages. And I don't see here, it says, by entering into a settlement, the United States hopes to take a substantial step toward healing the wounds the incident inflicted. Well, why shouldn't these people who committed those murders be tried? Why shouldn't they be brought to trial like the rest of the population would be? You know, why can't we get an official apology for their conduct with this shoot-on-sight rule that they had in place? It is outrageous what they did and got away with. And, of course, we're still looking. I don't think the hearings have begun yet on this. We're certainly going to be looking for what comes out of these hearings. And, friends, this is what it's all about. You know, we have our program here that we try so hard to let everyone know how we as normal Americans treat and handle firearms. Well, you know what? If we don't stand up as Americans and take our country back, we're hearing that a lot now from different politicians. If we don't stand up and say we're going to take our country back and we're going to put some decent people in office, well, you don't have to worry. We won't have to worry about guns. We won't have to worry about anything that requires personal freedom, because we're not going to have it. So, friends, that is why it is so, so important that we do our job here, that you stand up for what's right in your own community. And please, if you have a decent candidate, we need you to campaign for them. all of us do, because that's how it's going to be done. We've got to put some decent people in office in place of some of these lunatics that we have. It has to be done. Well, I'm sure that the judge will be back next week with a whole lot of information, and he does have some of the copies of the New American Magazine. He still has some. We've gotten a number of requests for them, but he ordered a case full. And if you would like to have one of those copies, I think that he's asking a couple of dollars easily, and I forget what he said on last week's program about how much, but $1 or so. He will send one of these reprints on to you. It has a complete analysis of the Oklahoma bombing, and it has the best story I've ever seen on how it looks like this is another cover-up. So if you would like one of these copies of the New American, write to the Judge, care of the Shootin' Show, 554 Kings Highway, Shreveport, Louisiana. Our zip code 71104, and we'll be happy to get one of those on to you. Please include $1 or so if you can, because the judge paid for those out of his pocket, and we would appreciate any help we can get on that. It is a tremendous, of course, the New American Magazine, I think, is the best news magazine available in this country or anywhere, period, and those of you that I've talked to who have subscribed to it also feel the same way. So this is an issue, something that you really would like to get hold of. Anyway, and the judge will be back here, we anticipate next week in this spot, and we'll go on to the next part of the show. Friends, the Great Soldier of Fortune Convention is going to be taking place in Las Vegas, Nevada, starting September 27 through October 1. For convention information, call 1-800-800-7630. Again, 800-800-7630. It's going to be at the Sands Hotel there in Las Vegas. We plan to be there with our cameras, and we hope to see a lot of you there. So if you want convention information, give them a call today. Now, don't let this pass you by if you plan to go. Hurry up and do it. 1-800-800-7630, Soldier of Fortune Convention information. You know, Carrie, I think it's as important for you ladies to know how to use these firearms as it is for us men. But you know, there's something else. We can have firearms for defense of our homes and certainly for sport, but we also need information.
Yes, I agree. I think the New American Magazine is the best source of information available in this country.
Well, I would certainly agree. The New American Magazine is the truth and nothing but the truth. And friends, if you would like to know what is really going on in this country and around the world, if you want, in fact, the truth, well, you need to get the New American Magazine. So here's how to do it. You can get the New American by calling 1-800-727-TRUE-TRUE. And those numbers, of course, are 1-800-727-8783. The New American, $22 for a 6-month subscription. It comes twice a month. Now, friends, with your new Shootin' Show subscription, they will also send you a free copy of what the United Nations is bringing to all of us. So this is very important. Subscribe today. You know, friends, in times like these, which indeed are strange times, we certainly need our firearms, but we also need the information about what's really going on. Order today.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
You know, friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Give them a call, 1-800-345-6923, a very inexpensive subscription price. Again, 1-800-345-6923. Subscribe today. Friends, let's take a look at 3 of our military rifles today that are certainly a figure of great importance in this country's history in more recent times. Anyway, here we have our This is a Colt Sporter, but it's very similar to the AR-15 or M16, except of course it is a semi-automatic. I don't have any full auto guns here. Next to it we have the M1 carbine, and in 30 caliber, and then of course we have the M1A, which is the civilian model, the semi-automatic version of the M14, which in fact is still in service. Well, you know, if you look at the cartridges that you see on the screen, on your left you have the 308 or 7.62 by 51, I believe, who the heck knows. Anyway, our basic 308, which is a powerful cartridge, it's a 150 grain bullet, moving along at about 27 and 2800 feet per second. Next to it we have the 7.62 39 Russian, and we use this today for comparison, size comparison, and you can see where it's a 30 caliber bullet, 123 grains at about 2300 feet per second out of an AK-47. Next to it we have the 5.56, our standard U.S. military service cartridge now, the 223 Remington as it's known in civilian terms, which is about a 55 up to a 68 grain bullet. The 55 grain bullet runs about 3,150 or so feet per second out of our AR-15, and then on your right you have the 30 caliber M1 carbine bullet. And essentially the 30 M1 carbine is more like an elongated pistol bullet than it is a rifle bullet. You'll see it is a straight wall case. It has a 110 grain bullet moving at about 1900 feet per second. Now then, it runs about 900 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. The 223 runs about 1300 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. The 7.62 Russian runs about 1400 foot-pounds muzzle energy, and of course 308 is a very serious caliber. The 308 is really the only cartridge, or far and away more powerful than the other two cartridges. You can certainly use the 7.62 Russian for deer hunting within its usable range, with 100-150 yard deer gun, which is excellent for that, very close to a 30-30. Honestly, I would not use the 223 or the 30 carbine rounds for deer hunting, for game the size of deer. You just don't have enough bullet. You know, on paper you do have muzzle energy, but you just are not carrying enough bullet. You know, our original service rifle, which we went into World War II with, was very similar to the M14 or M1A here. It's a 30-06 caliber, which has very similar ballistics to 308. And the thing is, this is a heavier gun. It probably weighs 9 or 10 pounds somewhere in there, and it has a 20-round box magazine. Of course, the M1 Garand had an 8-round clip and an in-gun magazine there, but these guns work essentially the same way. Now that's fine for a full-grown man who has good physical strength and properties and all that. That's fine. But it was found in Southeast Asia, in fact, that these guns were a little bit big. They needed something smaller for jungle warfare. But for most other military applications, this is just fine for a battle rifle. But believe it or not, there was so much, and I'm not sure why, a lot of people had trouble shooting the government model 45. Now this was before model pistol craft. Realize we're talking about the 30s and 40s here. And people really didn't know what all the basic Colt type 1911 gun would really do. So had a lot of people that didn't shoot these guns that well. So in the military thinking, you know, if that an oxymoron, military thinking in some cases, the powers that be decided, said, well, since the 45 ACP is so powerful and so difficult to shoot, why not come along with a little carbine with moderate power that would be very easy to shoot, easy to carry, and the average person, true, is going to shoot this more accurately at 25, 50, or 100 yards, certainly, than you would a pistol. What they forgot, though, was can't hang this thing on your belt. So it's not a bad idea, but I personally just don't think the 45 kicks very much. I don't think it's difficult to shoot, but I've shot one a lot and have been trained in shooting one. But for the average person with very little training, this could have been a reasonable alternative. Well, friends, we hope you're enjoying our program, and this is one of the most important spots in our show. And of course, let me talk about our health club. So many of you have called in, and we are getting information packets out as quickly as we can. A lot of you who have started on our health club products are telling us the most wonderful things. And I tell you what, friends, it is different when you feel like a whole new person. And when you feel like exercising, and you feel, if you feel like exercising, you're a lot more likely to exercise. You're going to want to feel like walking around the block. You're going to want to feel like playing tennis. You're going to want to feel like going down to the range and shooting your gun. You feel so much better. Give yourselves a chance. This is no joke. This is one of the great discoveries of my adult life. Now, also, this is a wonderful opportunity. Some of you out there may be interested in a business opportunity for some of our health club products, and it is an absolutely wonderful opportunity. You can make some money. Certainly it helps. Anything that we do through the program here helps us, but also you can make yourselves some very serious money if you work it halfway. But it's a wonderful opportunity. If you would have an interest in that, please let us know. Indicate that when you call in. You can call us 1-800-895-7916 or call Bobby at 1-800-SAVE-YOUR-GUN, 1-800-728-8486. Friends, if nothing else that I do for you here on the program benefits you, this will, because this is a way you can be healthier, happier, wiser, all those things, because all these things go better with good health. If you feel like it, you'll feel like doing so much more. Trust me on this one, friends. This is for real. So please give us a call today for health club information. And hey, don't put it off now. Let's get feeling better.
Friends, for information on the Shootin' Show Health Club, give us a call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your phone number, your address. We'll have someone get back to you immediately. Again, the Shootin' Show Health Club, 1-800-895-7916. Friends, let's do it today.
Now, friends, one of the examples here, let's take a couple of shots with our M14/M1A here. And it's got a little recoil for the... Definitely has some kick to it. Let's go ahead and unload it. Well, this is a full-size battle type cartridge, and very potent, but it has some recoil. For someone of smaller stature, as in from Vietnam or Southeast Asia or Korea, or for a woman, think about that. I think that these folks had in mind of putting women in the military way back when. See, you can take the little M1 carbine here and watch this. Very little recoil. And yes, it's an old gun. Let's try that again. Now then, let's try that again. Yep, hey, all semi-automatics, every last one of them malfunction from time to, trust me, count on it, they do it. There it is. So you can easily shoot it rapid fire and accurately. Just don't have a lot of power per shot. See, watch. Just very little recoil at all, just very little. It's a fire safety. In fact, we're going to unload it. Yes, it is empty. So, that was a successful concept if they had a little better cartridge. So here we wound up with our 223, and again, we have more range and more accuracy than the 30 carbine, but you have very almost no recoil at all, but a more effective cartridge. So just a note here on some of our military weapons, and again, I would not use any of these three except the M1A for deer hunting, and it is an excellent deer hunting gun, good for all kinds of things. 308 is really a good cartridge, but I would restrict the 223 and 30 carbines down. And another thing about a 30 carbine, the full metal jacket bullet will just effectively punch a little hole in about everything it hits. There are some soft nose bullets available for the M1 carbine that makes it a much more effective varmint gun. Now then, with proper bullets, these are excellent home defense guns, the carbine and the 223. And I would certainly use them from varmints down in that respect. Plus, they're also a lot of fun.
You know, friends, this box of Corbin ammunition and this Wesson 41 Magnum are in fact a perfect match for each other.
But it doesn't matter whatever gun you may have, like this SKS or a hunting rifle or a 38 Special or a 9mm, makes no difference, because Corbon is absolutely the best factory ammunition that money can buy, period. And also, friends, when you see a box of Corbon on the shelf or you give them a call, realize that Corbon is helping keep the Shootin' Show on the air. They've been one of our most dedicated sponsors. You cannot find finer people in the entire shooting industry. For information on Corbon ammunition, call them 1-800-626-7266. Again, 1-800-626-7266. Tell them you saw it on the Shootin' Show. Now, friends, how would you like to have a boat that you could literally carry around in the trunk of your car? Well, that's possible now with the new briefcase boat. This has a tremendous amount of utility. You can stop on the side of the road and go duck hunting in a pond or in a small stream or a lake, whatever. You can even put a small trolling motor on it. It has a duck blind type situation that goes over it in camouflage. Really such a neat setup. Now, this is available through us here at the program. It's $495 plus shipping and handling. Call us 1-800-SAVE-YOUR-GUN, 728-8486. Talk to Al or Bobby about it. They'll be glad to talk to you. The briefcase boat. Call today. You know, it's important that we have a reliable gun, but you know what else? It's also important that we have a reliable and sharp knife. Now, we have discovered one of the neatest things, and we have a little knife sharpener here. This is called a Pocket Pal. It has some little tungsten carbide inserts right here. And friends, let me tell you what, this thing will sharpen a knife like crazy. You can always have it with you because it has a little hole here to go on a keychain. You just slip it in your pocket. It's very thin and flat, but it does the same job as a much larger knife sharpener. So let me show you how it works. And let me also remind you that if you're a bow hunter, you can sharpen broadheads down to a razor sharp cutting edge with this little Pocket Pal. So all you have to do, and take a look at this, we'll open got our buck knife here, and all you have to do is put it on a surface like so, and it needs to be a firm surface, and probably be better off the edge of this, but we'll show you how it works.